Guys, what's going on? I think we're live here. I see the red light lit up. Hope everybody's doing well. We're on a Sunday night drive. We have about an hour to kill, so I figured I'd come on and talk a little bit about the genetics. The genetics. Everybody's worried about their genetics. We all have to make up, you want to call it an excuse, some justification for why we're in the condition that we're in. Right? We always have to justify it. And one of the first go-tos, I mean, there's several. There's a lot of things, a lot of excuses that we use. But one of the big ones is genetics. You'll be on social media and you'll see somebody, and a lot of these quote unquote influencers that you see, so much of it on social media, these guys are on drugs and TRT, and you know, and you'll look at that and you'll say, well, I don't look like that because of my genetics. You know, you can't, first of all, you can't compare yourself against anybody but yourself. Run your own race, worry about you, worry about what you're doing. But when you see somebody else and you perceive them as being successful or doing well, and you look at yourself and you say, well, I would look like that if I had those genetics, if I had that guy's genetics. And that may make you feel better about it and say, well, you know, he has X amount of muscle mass, he doesn't have that much fat on his body, well, because of his genetics. And it's a big thing even with doctors. You go to the doctor, and every chronic issue that we have today, the first your doctor's go-to is always going to be genetics. You're type 2 diabetic because of your genetics. You have high blood pressure because of your genetics. You're overweight, your genetics. And we believe it. We buy into it. Now the doctors tell us that because it's just an easy answer, because they don't know, and at the end of the day, they don't care. You know, they want to get, their money is made by seeing people, the conveyor belt, get you in and get you out, give you the pills, send you on your way, make the next appointment, I'll see you in 3 months, take the pills, it's your genetics. So if you have any type of chronic condition, if you look at yourself in the mirror and say, wow, you know, that guy, he looks the way he does only because of his genetics, and I look the way I do because of my genetics. Well, I would say, rather than your genetics, look at your lifestyle, look at your habits, look at your level of self-discipline, look at your level of consistency. How much work do you actually put in? And I think most of the time you'll find that you're not being successful, or you don't look the way you want to look, not because of your genetics, but because of the lack of effort, the lack of consistency, the lack of self-discipline. And it's a tough pill to swallow, to blame yourself, because nobody wants to do that, right? We always want to be able to justify our own BS, justify our own bullshit, and find some reason, some easy out. But if you sit down and you look at, again, how much effort do you put in? How consistent are you if you do put in any type of effort? How much intensity? What type of self-discipline do you have with your lifestyle choices? Are you drinking booze? Are you getting high? What does your diet look like? If I say to most people, well, how many calories are you putting in your body a day? Why? I'm doing everything I can't lose weight. How many calories are you eating a day? Not that many. Well, how many? I don't know, but it's not a lot. So, in other words, I'm not going to put the time and effort into finding out what I'm putting in my body, how much of it I'm putting in my body, how often I'm putting it in my body, because that takes effort. So it's easier just to say, well, I tried everything, it's my genetics. And then you point to somebody else that you perceive as being successful and you blame it on their genetics. Well, he only looks like that because of his genetics. If I had his genetics, I would look just like him. Well, regardless of what your genetics are, you're going to look exactly how you look if you don't put the work in consistently. If you don't have self-discipline, if you don't regulate your sleep patterns, if you don't eat a whole food diet, if you don't lay off the booze, if you don't stop getting high, if you don't cut stress out of your life, which most of the times means cutting people out of your life, because our biggest source of stress is other people. Look at your circle of friends. Look at the people that are influencing your life, the decisions that you make. Look at your day-to-day habits. Be honest with yourself and say, how much effort am I really, how much effort do I really put in? How much do I pay attention to my lifestyle? It's everything's genetics, and then I don't have the time. That's another big one, which is another crock. We all know that's not true. You can find the time. It's that comes down to priorities. I have an overactive thyroid. I have an underactive thyroid. It's my metabolism. We throw all this shit against the wall, hoping something will stick, and we have the blinders on because we won't look at our lifestyle. We won't look at our habits because it takes effort to change bad habits. It takes a lot of effort to change bad habits. We're reluctant to change. We're reluctant to be uncomfortable. See, the problem is that everybody wants to change without really changing and without really putting in the work that they need to put in. And when they're not seeing any change, when they're not getting themselves in shape, when they're not feeling better, when they're not looking better, it's my genetics. I had a guy tell me the other day. He asked me what kind of arm workouts that I do, and of late I really don't do a specific arm workout. Uh, you know, your biceps and triceps get work when you're doing pull-ups. It's not to say I never ever do them, but not on a routine basis. But anyway, his response was, well, It's impossible to build your arms if you don't do arm specific workouts. So if you're building your arms, it's got to be because of your genetics, which was a total bullshit comment, very ignorant comment. Um, but again, it just goes back to, and this guy's really doing very little work. I know that for a fact. So he'll look at somebody else who he perceives might be doing better than him or might be having some success, and his only answer is, it's your genetics. What's up, Frankie? Gio? Home gym is in the house. We're getting the driving gains for sure. Magda, how are you? YouTuber Ramal, how are you? Longbeard's in the house. Good to see you, brother. Hope everything's doing well. Hope you're staying on track. I hope you're on track. Cody Kane is here. Good to see you, brother. Thanks for popping in. That's good, brother. I'm glad. I'm glad. And Beard, if you're making any gains, I'm sure it's just your genetics. So, guys, obviously, genetics does play a part in how you look and how you respond to certain things. Uh, you know, there's 8 billion people on the planet. That means there's 8 billion different physiologies. So you might have a genetic predisposition to, you react to foods a certain way. You're going to react differently. Everybody's going to react differently to the stimulus from exercise, which is why you can't look at somebody else and judge your progress or lack of progress based on what you see somebody else doing. And again, you certainly can't base it on what you see on the internet because a large percentage of it is bullshit. I mean, the drug use, the TRT use, it's rampant. It really is. So it doesn't make sense to look at other people and judge your progress based on what you see somebody else doing. We say it all the time. Well, that guy can eat whatever he wants and he doesn't gain weight. You don't know what anybody else is eating. Unless you're living with them 24/7, you don't know what they're doing. You don't know what they're putting in their body. You don't know what type of work they're putting in. Um, so making progress is trial and error, not only with your health and fitness, but anything in life. You have to try things. You make mistakes. You tweak it as you go along. Uh, you have to find what works for you. And what works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for me. We might have some similarities. We might, respond to things similarly in some ways. but it's trial and error. You have to be willing to put the effort in. You're going to make mistakes. Certain things aren't going to work. You can't get frustrated. Um, you just have to keep trying, and at some point, you're going to you're going to find exactly what's going to work for you. But it'll never happen if you don't put the effort in. And you do have to have a realistic expectation of what you can actually do. Again, you look at these people on the internet and you see some guy who's 240 pounds of solid muscle, and you have this expectation that if you go to the gym for 3 weeks, you're going to look something like that. Yeah, see, everybody's different. I love the calisthenics myself, but I still hit the gym. I think a combination of both is a great way to go, in my opinion. I was at the gym the other day and I saw a guy who was an absolute beast, an absolute beast. The things he was doing on the gym floor was unbelievable, and he was all calisthenics. He told me he had been doing body weight stuff for years. The guy had a physique on him that was unreal. And he was doing all sorts of skills. He was front lever, handstands, muscle ups, you name it. He was doing it in that gym. Very talented guy. So you have to find your own way, guys. I mean, you can take ideas from other people, but, and again, you have to be willing to commit. You have to be willing to put the work in. You can't do something for 3 days and say that doesn't work. I tried that, it doesn't work for me. There's so many components to your health and fitness, and building a physique. It's not just about going to the gym. It's about cleaning up your diet. It's about doing things that are going to help maximize your progress. Getting sufficient rest. Again, we talked about the stress. I'm a big believer. You have people in your life that are stressing you out, you cut them. Get rid of them without even thinking about it. Just cut them right out of your life. Obviously, if it's family or somebody close to you, you can't do it, but you have to minimize your time with people like that because they will suck the life out of you and they'll hold you back. And it's stress is a real thing, and it has a big impact on your body and your mind, obviously. And as far as your diet goes, like I mentioned earlier, we have the standard American diet, which leads to what? The standard American chronic diseases, and then you wind up on the standard American pills and medications. And your doctor's answer, genetics. And you're on that gerbils wheel, you're on that merry-go-round for the rest of your life, taking pills, going to the doctor, and believing it. You have to educate yourself. You have to learn what works for you. You have to learn what makes you feel good, what types of foods. Playful says 100 push-ups, leg raises, and squats every morning. You see, now that's, you know, that's perfect. You do that every day, that's going to be life-changing. That's going to be life-changing, because even something like that, you do that every single day, wake up and do that, it's going to build the self-discipline, it's going to build the habit, and you're absolutely going to see changes, and you'll progress from there without a doubt. And that's what it's all about, building the habits. And again, you have to be realistic. You have to look around. Look, I mentioned earlier the people that you're hanging around with. That's a real thing. They say you're the average of the five people that you hang around with most, something along those lines. Bottom line is, the people that you hang out with, they rub off on you. And if you hang out with a bunch of drunks, you hang out with a bunch of people that are lazy, overweight, get high, have no interest in health and fitness, it's going to rub off on you. A little extra cardio is not going to hurt, Beard. You definitely, every little bit that you do, and if you're looking to burn calories, but you know, ground zero is always going to be a diet. It's always going to be. You can't justify eating a shitty diet and then say, well, I'll work it off at the gym, I'll do some extra push-ups, I'll do some extra work on the treadmill. Ground zero is always the diet. Always the diet. Will the cardio help? Yes, it'll help you. But that's the other thing. People way, way, way over exaggerate, overestimate how many calories you're burning with exercise. You're not burning that many calories. Certainly not enough to overcome a shit diet. If you're eating the right way, the cardio, the extra reps, the extra exercise, obviously it's movement. You're going to burn calories with any type of movement, so it's going to help you along the way. But exercise will never, ever, ever be a prescription for a shitty diet. It's not going to work. Codaine's right. That's exactly right. Diet usually is the downfall for most people. And like I just mentioned, then they turn around and think that they're going to fix it you know, with push-ups or hitting the treadmill at Planet Fitness. It's not going to work. Playful, you're right. But you need to do anything. You should be doing something every day. I don't know that there's uh, I don't think there's any written rule that says cardio has to be done every 2 days at least. You want to do it as often as you can. Walking is great. If you walk every day, get your 10,000 steps in, which equates for most people to what, about 5 miles a day? If you can get that in, perfect. If you can get more in, perfect. If you get less, as long as you're doing something. Movement, you're absolutely right. Movement is, any type of movement is medicine. GP Training's in the house. What's up, brother? How are you? Yeah, Carhartt. I'm on the way home, actually. Yes. Winter in Jersey. We had some snow the other day. It's been really cold, too. Hope you're doing well, brother. Shout out again to the Netherlands. That's a good point, Cody Kane. The mobility and flexibility extremely important. We talk about that, right? And in my younger days, I didn't realize the importance of it, and I think most people don't. I've talked about this many times before. You know, you walk into a gym and you'll see a guy come in and just get on the bench and start, maybe do a few sets at, 135, and that's his warm up. You very, very rarely see people doing serious stretching and mobility work at the gym, but extremely. And that's the other thing too. When you do get that DOMS, the delay, the muscle soreness, a lot of people say, "Oh, I'm sore, I can't do anything." But you're absolutely right. You're right on point with that. One of the best things you could do with that is stretch it out, and you'll feel 1,000 times. It's like you have to rip the Band-Aid off because, once you start, it's going to hurt, but you'll feel much much better after you do that, without a doubt. Yeah, playful. I agree with you there. But here's the thing: if if you don't exercise, obviously you're not going to be strong. You're not going to be, like we just talked about, flexibility and mobility if you don't do things like that. And that's on you. Can you lead a relatively healthy life if your diet is completely on point? You're not overeating. You're eating relatively whole food diet. Uh, yeah, I think you could do pretty well for yourself. Um, but again, you're going to suffer into the where you're not going to be as strong and as flexible, and you're certainly not going to feel as good. Uh, I don't think this is my opinion, mentally, overall, physically. So, but and I've talked about this before. If you had to pick one for the rest of your life, well, I'm going to eat a relatively whole food, 80% whole foods for the rest of my life, and stay on point. Eat a good calorie count every day. Again, eat the best food that I can find. Lay off the junk. Minimize the booze. Don't get high and all things like that. Or do what you want, and I'll give you a gym membership to the fanciest gym in the world, and you can go work out every single day of your life, and you could eat and drink whatever you want and do what you want. I'm going with the diet. In a perfect world, you're going to do both. You're going to eat the best food you could find, concentrate on your diet with anything in life. But again, health and fitness it's not, you can't just look at one thing. It's all encompassing. It's the diet, it's the exercise, it's your sleep, it's your stress. Um, it all goes together, and it affects not only your physical health, but your mental health, your emotional health, everything. It all goes together. So these people that say you just need to lose 20 pounds and I'll be good. No, you won't. You won't. You have to learn how to live a healthy life. And the vast, vast majority of people today don't do that. They don't know how to do it. And most people, like we said earlier, they don't want to put the effort into finding out how to do that. They want the quick fix. They want the supplement. They want the steroids. They want the TRT. They want the drugs now with the Ozempic and all that bullshit that they're pumping into their bodies. And you're going to pay a price for it. You're going to pay a very expensive price. Yeah, codeine. You don't have to get, same thing with your pull-ups, anything, your body weight squats. You grease the groove. You do a few throughout the day. You know what I mean? And you build up. You build up. You don't have to get down and do 500 all at once. You don't have to get up tomorrow morning and do 500 pull-ups, 500 push-ups, or whatever. You're spot on with that. When you have a chance, and especially don't tell me that people don't have time when you're sitting there watching football and watching bullshit on Netflix. You have hours. People sit in front of the screen for hours. So you could hit that pause button and get a couple of sets in and then go back to what you were doing. And by the end of the day, you've done a few hundred reps. So again, it's all priorities. If you want to do it, you'll find a way to do it. We're very resourceful when it comes to finding ways to do things that we really want to do. And unfortunately, that's usually the easy stuff. What's up, Smooth? There you go, Playful. That's it. That's it. Perfect strategy. You chip away at it. Yeah, Smooth. You're spot on with that. You always lose. When people talk about losing weight, you want to lose body fat. We don't want to lose lean tissue, muscle. Unfortunately, you always, when you when that scale is going down, you're always going to be losing some amount of body fat and breaking down some amount of muscle. The way to minimize that is going to be making sure, again, it goes back to the diet. You want to make sure you're getting sufficient protein, you're hitting a decent amount of protein every day, and you have to be doing some type of resistance training. When I say resistance training, it could be push-ups, it could be body weight squats, it could be anything. Resistance comes from anywhere. It could come from your own body weight, it could come from rubber bands, it could come from uh, dumbbells, it could come from barbells. It doesn't matter. Resistance is resistance. But if you want to minimize muscle loss when you lose weight, if you're at a calorie deficit and that scale is moving down, you can guarantee that you're losing some amount of muscle. You can certainly minimize that and maximize the fat loss by making sure that your diet's on point, specifically getting enough protein and doing some amount of resistance training. Playful, I agree with you. There's no reason to be doing, I mean, if you're inclined to do it, do as many reps as you can, as many as you want, but There's no magic number. Again, it's always going to be what works for you. What are you capable of doing on a consistent basis? And if you do it consistently, you will progress. But there's nothing saying is that, you know, if you only do 149 reps, you're not going to get results. You have to do 150. It's what works for you. But again, you know, the other thing too is with the shoulders and the elbows, you want to minimize, you know, things, you know, elbow issues, and the shoulders are the lynch. You know, everything comes off the shoulders when you do any type of work with your upper body, no matter what it is. If it's pull-ups, if it's push-ups, if it's rows, if it's dips, the shoulders are coming into play. So you always want to make sure you're warming up your shoulders. And like we mentioned earlier, doing the mobility work, the flexibility. Even if you spend a day and you don't do a full-blown workout, spend 20, 30 minutes just doing some stretching. Get the rubber bands out and just stretch. Stretch everything. Do the shoulders, and work your way down the body. Start with the neck and go all the way down. But that's the way to, you know, these repetitive use injuries, the tennis elbow type things, and it's easy for me to say, golfer's elbow, things that come from doing repetitive motions over and over and over again. I certainly, you know, I deal with it myself. But again, I find that doing a good stretching routine pretty regularly is going to help minimize that. Yeah, Goose is right. I mean, pick something and do it. And you're never going to regret it. You're never going to regret any type of move. Even if you go out for a walk, you know, it doesn't matter. Just move your body, and you're not going to regret it. Smooth. I'm gonna. Yeah. I mean, obviously, your body shape could be changing, but it depends on what you're doing. I mean, if you're not, again, I mentioned earlier, if you're losing weight, you're always going to lose body fat and some amount of muscle mass. So, you know, if you're just doing stuff like cardio and not doing anything, you know, cardio is great. You're going to get a benefit from it. You're going to burn calories. It's great for the heart. The heart's a muscle, and you're working the heart muscle. So you're going to get a cardio benefit from doing that. But you're not going to build muscle. You're not going to build muscle with cardio like that. Steady state cardio, walking on a treadmill, you know, even running. I mean, look at a marathon runner's body. You know, they don't have a lot of muscle mass. So you know, if you're doing resistance training, you certainly could be losing inches. And again, it depends on how much weight you've lost. You know, if you have a lot of weight to lose, if you have a real high body fat percentage, you should be dropping that weight. And the body is going to get greedy when you get down to that last maybe 20, 15, 10 pounds. The body's going to get very greedy and hold on to it. So it's going to get tougher as you go along. But if you have you know, people that have that 50, 60, 70, you know, even 100 pounds to lose, and you're hitting that diet right and even doing your cardio or any type of movement, that weight should be coming off you at a pretty good rate. And it's going to really start to slow down when you get down to the nitty gritty, when you start getting really close. So everybody's body is going to react to it differently. But I would say that, you know, if you're losing inches around your waist, you probably are losing some body fat. So would probably, I would say, you should be seeing that scale move a little bit. But again, it depends on where you're at and exactly what you're doing. Are you doing any type of resistance training, or are you just sticking with the cardio? Yeah, that's it, Beard. I mean, if you sore up top, if you're hurting up top, if you did a hard workout, on a certain part of your body, move it around. If the legs are hurting, you could hit the back, you could hit the chest, you could hit the arms, you could hit the shoulders. If the upper body's a little sore, you can always hit the legs. You could do the cardio, you could do the stretching routine. There's always something to do. C-band, smooth. Here's the thing with with your crunches. Let's say you can't spot reduce. It's impossible to spot reduce. You cannot tell your body where to change and where to lose weight, right? So doing the crunches it's great. It's great. Um, you're going to build the core, the lower abs, the abs, whatever. But you're not going to see that if you have that layer of body fat, around your waist. So, people say, well, I'm going to do sit-ups because I want to get a six-pack. Well, if you have 10, 15, 20 pounds of excess weight around your waist, you're never going to see it. You might have strong abs. You might have a very strong core, but you're not going to see it. So it's always going to come down to the diet, and a lot of people, I don't know how much weight you've lost. I don't know if you said that. I don't remember now. But an unfortunate fact is that some people are going to have some skin issues after you lose a good amount of weight. And that might just have to be like something that you have to live with. But I'd rather have a little extra skin around the waist than be holding on to 50, 60, 70 pounds and living an unhealthy lifestyle. Smooth, that's great. I mean, 50 reps a day on each body part, there's nothing, that's nothing to sneeze at. Um, I would say as you progress, you might want to dial it in a little bit more and maybe be more specific. Up your reps, say on one day, do a lower body workout, another day do a pull specific workout, another day a push specific workout, and up your reps. And as you go, you want that progressive overload. You always want to be looking to push it a little more, add a little more resistance. Because if you're using bands and you use the same band every day for 3 months, you have to continuously look to stress the body a little bit more in order to build. Yes, that was my point, Beard. What I'm trying to say is maybe I'm not saying it right. Um, Aggressive overload. Let's say you're on a bench and you're benching 100 pounds, and you can get out 8 or 9 reps. Well, when you get to the point where you're doing 10 or 12 reps easy, now you want to bump it up to 105. Well, that's going to knock back your reps, obviously. But then when you work those reps back up with that, then you're going to add a little bit more weight. So you're going to continuously look to add a little more weight. Obviously, each time you do add the weight, that rep count is going to drop. but then you're going to build that back up, and that's how you're going to keep progressing. So Smooth was saying with 50 reps a day. Well, if you're doing 50 reps a day of anything with the same weight, even when it comes to calisthenics, that's why at some point, instead of doing 150 reps a day, you'll add some weight on. Get the weight vest. You could strap a band around across your back and add a little bit of resistance. You always want to be looking to up the resistance a little bit as you go along, and that's going to help you progress. And again, sufficient protein. Have your diet dialed in as much as you can, and that's going to help you build. Yeah, I believe that, Smooth. That's it. We talk about that too, right? If you have kids, you have to be the role model. You're going to sit there and drink a beer and then yell at the kid for drinking soda. I mean, it's ridiculous. But again, that kid's going to grow up and he's going to graduate to the Miller Lite soon enough, because that's what he sees. Because that's normal. That's the norm. And we always say the kids are going to do what you do, not what you say. I mean, Smooth. Yeah, I mean, anything that ups the intensity. If your goal right now, the other thing too is we muddy the waters too much. People that now I don't know exactly when you started Smooth or what your situation was, but so many times you hear people that haven't worked out in 20 years or they've never worked out in their lives and they're overweight, and it's always, I want to lose weight and gain muscle. Well, pick a strategy, and number one is always going to be to get the excess body fat off your body. Right? If you buy an old beater car, a piece of shit car, and you want to fix it up, or even a house or whatever, you strip everything down first, and then you build it back up. But if you take, people that have no clue how to eat, what to eat, and again, the diet is like somebody mentioned earlier. I think it was Coda King. The biggest thing with most people is the diet. We don't know how to eat. We think Pop Tarts and ice cream and it is normal. It's not. It's poison. Learn how to eat, lose the body fat, get it off your body, and then build it back up. Then learn how to eat to build it back up. And it's not that complicated, guys. It's not. It takes effort. It takes a lot of effort, but it's worth it. Otherwise, you're just going to be spinning your wheels over and over and over. You're going to get frustrated and you're going to quit. See, here's the thing with that, Smooth. When you talk about the sodas and most of the shit, and even the the stuff that we have our kids drinking, the juice boxes and the juice bottles, it's all loaded. If you look at the first ingredient, even with Coke here in the United States, first ingredient's always high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup is metabolized by the liver in the same way that alcohol is metabolized. That's why you have little kids with fatty liver. A fatty liver was something that somebody, an old 60, 70-year-old drunk only had years ago from all the alcohol. But we have little kids, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years old with fatty livers. And it's from all of this high fructose corn syrup. Because it's metabolized by the liver and almost exactly the way alcohol is metabolized. It's poison. We're literally poisoning these kids. So the old man, the guy with the Miller Lite and the kid drinking a Coke are going to wind up in the same boat. The problem is you have a little kid who's destroying his liver. He's not 60, 70 years old like it used to be. You never heard about, if you did, again, it was some older drunk that had a fatty liver. Now it's so common. I think it's 1 out of 3 kids now have a fatty liver. It's a disaster. You talk about child abuse. You talk about, we're literally killing these kids. And that's only what they drink. Well, you look at what we're feeding them, the oils, the seed oils, the sugar, the high fructose corn syrup, whatever there's 60, 70 different names for sugar that they add to these. And then when you get into the dyes, the food coloring and the additives and the preservatives, it's poison. It's absolute poison. I don't even know anymore how much is in a can of Coke, but there's got to be upwards. I think if you check a can of Coke, it's going to be equal to about maybe 7 or 8 packets of sugar in a 12-ounce can, give or take. Don't quote me on that, but it's up there. Code, if you're talking about sugar in a Coke, the 56 grams, that might be like in a 20-ounce bottle. Not in a 12-ounce can, but if you look at like maybe a 20-ounce bottle I don't even know how big they make the bottles anymore. They're probably making it bigger than that. But yeah, it's not uncommon. 56 grams. I mean, you look at Gatorade, you look at the juices that we're feeding these kids. Without a doubt, in one sitting, they're going to take in that many grams of sugar. There you go, 39. Okay, even worse. That's about okay. So that's 10 packets of sugar. 10 packets. I remember when I'm a big coffee drinker. I don't put anything in it now, but back in the day, I always had sugar in there, along with my couple of jelly donuts, but we won't get into that right now. But and I loved sugar, I still do, but when I was putting sugar in my coffee, if I put 3 packets in a cup of coffee, that was sweet. That really tasted sweet to me. So you give a kid a 12-ounce can with 10, that's 39 grams is just shy of 10 packets of sugar. It's disgusting what we're doing to these kids. It really is. It's disgusting what we're doing to ourselves as adults because we really don't know. Let me flip this, guys. All right, I think we're going to cut it here. I think I'm nearing about an hour. I'm running out of daylight too. So, listen, I appreciate all you guys being here. Appreciate the back and forth, the comments, and all. Hope you Everybody make sure you get your reps in. Stay safe, stay healthy. It's not your genetics. Look at your lifestyle. It's your lifestyle. I'm telling you, it's your lifestyle. Clean it up. All right, guys. Thanks again. Everybody stay well, and I'll talk to you guys in the next one. Have a good night.